virtual Nintendo Earth Day event on the 22nd and 23rd.
Oh, is that gone virtual? Because I just canceled. I thought I just canceled that on the calendar.
Okay.
Maybe I better go look at what I did. I don't remember.
Phil, I don't believe will be joining us, but he was trying to recruit them to make it virtual. I don't know the final outcome.
Okay, well, let me.
Phil said he was going to phone in.
Yeah.
I would really wonder if Greenwood is going to happen either.
I've had all my June music gigs go away, so we'll see.
Yeah. Greenwood says they're monitoring, but as of now, it's still on.
I'm taking a look at the website calendar just to see what I did the most recently, which was actually put information about this meeting up. Newsflash. Okay. Grid. Yeah, no one told me that it was going to be virtual. So who do I talk to get the information for that? It just says I just put canceled because that's the last communication I had from Phil.
That may be a rumor from you know who. I will try to get some more details.
Thank you. Just text me or email me or something.
Yeah.
Who was the? Yeah, and same Bellevue College got canceled. I've been putting a lot of cancellations up here. You're right.
As far as creative thinking for events, I've been in contact with Tacoma Power, and since the odds of their ride and drives are going down day by day, we suggested during the reintegration period where some facilitated one-on-one might be possible. They were interested in the idea of an EV guest ride, where basically by appointment, one evangelist would rendezvous with one interested member of the public and provide a one-on-one test drive outside of the big group gathering. Does that idea appeal to anyone?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, it's making me sit up straight.
Oh, anything that makes you wake up and say something is good by me.
I'm sorry, what?
That was a vote of confidence from Kevin. Excellent. That counts at least double.
Well, and Stephen.
I'm not ignoring you, Stephen. Thank you for volunteering. How's the IMEV doing?
I think I can still squeeze 60 miles on a warm day.
Excellent. I don't think I posted to SEVA that I purchased an auction salvage IMEV 2 weeks ago, a 2014 with only 14,000 miles on the clock.
Wow.
The battery tests like new. It's a beautiful thing. Welcome, Teresa Ramsdell. She didn't flinch. I don't think she's listening.
Can you believe what's happening to the Tesla stock?
Okay, I think I froze. There we go. I got it. It's like I froze for a second there.
Yeah, Tesla stock's going crazy again.
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
crazy.
it is.
It's hilarious.
Oh, Mark, your Mark.
Hey, hi there, Stephen Lowe.
You look like Santa Claus.
Yes, sir. No, I'm the wild man.
Okay, well, we are at 7 o'clock and have 25 people, well, at least 24, not counting Ryan's extra identity. So let's gavel this first ever virtual meeting of the Seattle Electric Vehicle Association to order.
We don't get to have Kevin do his cry over virtual.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Let's have a bit of normalcy here. Come on, Kevin. We want it.
Come on, Kevin. Bring it to order.
Bring it to order there, Kevin.
Come on, Kevin.
Kevin?
Oyez, oyez, all persons having business before this August body, unmute yourselves. You will be heard. The Honorable Jay Donaway presiding. All rise.
All set.
All set. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Ah, that's great.
Well done.
You were supposed to start
Well
drinking
done.
after the meeting, Mark.
Okay.
All right. Well, excuse my
tears coming down my
asthmatic
eyes from that.
non-COVID cough. Grace had some legalese for us regarding the official automotive business and sales thereof. So that would be first on the agenda. Grace, please tell us what's legal and what's not during this time.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Terrific. Just want to make sure everybody who's joined recently is kind of familiar with Zoom meetings. Is there anybody who's not familiar and like with etiquette of muting yourself and things like that? Anybody want a little quick primer? Paul would like one. Ed, would you, as our host tonight, so Ed, would you be willing to kind of give a little brief overview of how we're doing this tonight? And then I will go into some legal things under the quarantine that we're doing. Thanks.
Okay, so I should probably start with the first legal thing, which is it's great if you make your video visible, which you can do from the bottom left. If you wiggle over your screen, it'll say stop video or start video. The meeting is being recorded. If you're okay being recorded, hold your thumb up. Is there anybody who is not okay with that? If so, you should keep your video off and don't talk. That's about it. So that's the legal one having to do with Zoom. So what are features you would like? If you hover your mouse either over your own little window, if you're in that mode, a button that says mute or unmute will appear. Or if you go to the bottom left and wiggle your mouse over that, there's a little microphone, which you can, if it's unmuted, it will have little green things when you make noise, and it will not have a red slash. And if you click it, it will mute you, and you'll get a little red slash through that. That's the big politeness thing. If you're not actually talking, mute yourself. The problem is if everybody has barking dogs and a coffee maker and maybe someone's vacuuming in the other room and so on, it gets pretty noisy pretty fast. So that's mute and unmute. Next to it is stop video or start video. If you look in the top right-hand area of your screen when you wiggle, you'll see something that says either speaker view or gallery view. Go ahead and play with that. It doesn't affect anyone else but you. It changes you from Hollywood squares to whoever's talking turns large. And in the top right also, there's something that will say either enter or exit full screen, which does pretty much what you think you do. If you go into full screen, it gets rid of the standard Windows borders around the edge. I don't know what it does on a Mac. You'll have to work it out. I don't do fruit. Though, Grace, have I missed anything? Those are the main ones. We're being recorded. You can turn your mic on and off in the bottom left. You can go to full screen or speaker or gallery view. Those are the main ones. If you want to spend hours, there are 1,000 different options at least, but they're probably not worth all talking about here. So I think that's it. That's the welcome to Zoom.
Thank you,
And in
Ed.
the background over my shoulder is the dashboard of an Arcimoto FUV, which I'll probably talk about later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for hosting our very first Zoom meeting for SEVA. Really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, Ed is using his Zoom business account, so he's donating his services to us.
Don't tell anybody, because it is still tax deductible if I only use it for my business. If I tell you what I do, then maybe it's okay. Do that at the end.
All right, terrific. Well, I wanted to just talk a little bit about how the pandemic and the stay-home order here in Washington is affecting car sales. It is having a very serious effect, as you probably imagine. Car sales are not considered an essential business, except in a few very certain circumstances. Car servicing is, however, still an essential business. And so people such as Jay, people such as other service centers, they're all operating full-time and being able to take care of business there. That's great. But if you want to get a new car, that's where the trouble comes in, because new car sales are not essential unless several different reasons that you can get an exemption and actually purchase a new car at this time. One of them is if you are considered an essential worker, so you work at a hospital or a medical facility, or you're in the groceries or delivery business, things such as those are considered essential. Or if you're a first responder, fire, police, things like that. Then you do have to sign a waiver from the state saying, yes, I am an essential employee and I need this car to get to work. Some other things that you can do or that qualify you to purchase a vehicle are if your current vehicle has been totaled, or if it is damaged so badly that it is not practical to repair it, and you need a vehicle for transport to work, then you can purchase a new vehicle. Also, if your lease is ending, you can do an extension of your lease. And also, if you have already ordered a car and paid a deposit on it, then you can still take delivery of that vehicle. But otherwise, car makers are not allowed to actually sell and deliver a car to you at this point. So dealers are pretty empty these days. In fact, there's very severe restrictions on even going to a dealership. You can't go to a dealership except by appointment. And then the dealership can only have one employee in the building at a time, and only one customer can come into the building at a time as well. And they all have to maintain the social distancing and wear masks and everything as well. So that's kind of really put a damper on car sales. I can tell you that Tesla, where I work, is still selling some cars because we have some inventory vehicles that were built before the factory shut down back on March 23rd. So there are still a few vehicles available for people who are essential workers or who really need a car. But like I said, you do have to sign the form saying that, yes, you do qualify under the very rigid circumstances and we're allowed to sell you a car. For other people, you know, you can still order a vehicle. It's just not going to get delivered until after the factories start making cars again. And I believe most of the other factories in the US are shut down right now as well. And you're not going to be able to take delivery until the stay-at-home order is lifted. I know at Tesla, we're doing touchless deliveries where you come and pick up your car and you never come in the building. You just call the delivery center and they tell you where your new car is located, opened remotely thanks to the technology in the app, so you can unlock it remotely. With the Tesla, you can unlock it with the app on your phone. And then your documents to sign are in the car, and then you just drop them off in a drop box at the front of the building when you're done and drive away your car. So things have changed quite a bit over the past few weeks. In fact, they change daily to try to keep up with all the restrictions. But it's been very interesting to see how we're able to adjust to all of this. Any questions? Well, I imagine when this restrictions are lifted, there's probably going to be a large line of people wanting to go and get cars. So it's likely that the demand is going to go way up as soon as we are finally allowed to go back and buy things like cars. Yeah.
Personally, I'd almost prefer that they rejuvenate, rebuild their old electric cars rather than buying these new high carbon footprint vehicles.
Yeah, but where are you going to get your Model 3 drivetrains and batteries from if people aren't buying a new one after they crash their old one, right?
Oh, yes. We do need them crashed too, don't we?
So it's become evident that Tesla is a technology company, not a car company, by the making of the what do you call it? What is the word for it? The incubators.
Oh, mm-hmm.
You see the video on that? They
I
use
haven't, but sounds.
yeah, they use the Model 3 screen, and they used a bunch of the valves out of the Model 3 to make the incubators. Anyway,
Well, they're making the ventilators and
ventilators. I'm sorry, ventilators.
Yeah, exactly. Very exciting about what's happening with that.
It's just
the reviews from the doctors and nurses are saying they're actually really great devices. So.
Oh, I know they had they had features on there that the doctors probably weren't even used to, so what an innovative group they are.
Question, do we have a program? Because I've got one remark I'd like to put forward, and we can chew on it later, but I saw a video of something that Nissan had created with gas-powered razor blades, gas-powered copy machines, gas-powered dental office. And, a few years ago, I thought that was a big deal that Plug-in America had put forward, and very creatively. And I don't know how Nissan got in the middle of it and took credit for that. Has anybody else seen that thing on the World Wide Web?
Well, that's an old ad that was on television, and it was a Nissan ad.
Well, okay, it was a Nissan, but I remember a whole series of things that Plug-in America did on that as well. No comment?
Well, I mean, I've seen these ads on television back when I first bought my Leaf in 2011, and this guy holding a razor to his face with the exhaust putting out of it. That was one of the first things, I mean, so it's been around a long time.
Yeah, but now it's coming true. Blink is offering a $5,000 gasoline-fueled EV charger for use out in the wild.
I feel like they stole my thunder because I was just in developing with my sister. She's an environmental engineer. We were trying to make one of those that goes inside your vehicle, but like whenever you crash or whatever, like it would come out of the back of your trunk and then go charge it, and then you would have like a joystick and like charge it on there. But it was not gasoline, but I feel like they totally stole my thunder on that.
There's also a startup called sparkcharge.io that is a little suitcase full of batteries in your trunk for emergency charging.
And mine is called Boss Bitch, and it was for women CEOs that have electric vehicles, because I feel like the market for men CEOs and men who own electric vehicles is really saturated. But just FYI. I'm still working on it though.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Our gracious host, Ed, were you going to want to tell us some more about your Archimoto?
I can chat. I've been just changing the picture in the back. So Archimoto, has anybody never heard of an Archimoto? I mean, most people have at least heard of them. Actually, what I should do.
I've heard of them. I think we all have.
I should change the picture to one that actually shows it. Just a second. That's it in its little hutch. There's a decent picture that just shows the thing. So it's a three-wheel. Let me get out of the way. It's a tricycle. It's intended as a city commuter, and it's really nice as a city commuter. It goes fine on the freeway, but because of the shape, the design of the body, the wind resistance is pretty atrocious. So your range on the freeway it just dives. It goes down by about to like 1/3 of what it would be in city. So they advertise the range as 100 city and about 30 to 35 freeway at 75 miles an hour. So it's a city vehicle. It is really fun to drive. You saw one of them, it's handlebars instead of a wheel, so it's considered a motorcycle. So it does require an endorsement. The neatest things about it are it's a social vehicle. It is not a social distance vehicle. One of the guys on the FUV list described what he calls the ADF, which is the Archimoto delay factor, which is anywhere you go, people will stop you and go, "What is that?" And they'll want to talk about it because it's so unusual. And because it's not enclosed, people are totally happy to just like call out to you on the sidewalk or whatever. So it's a very social vehicle. What else? The first thing I noticed, the first time I took it out around Bellevue, I happened to be behind a school bus. And I noticed that traffic out there that isn't electric is really loud and smells really bad. That was the main thing there. What else? I'm just kind of going through things. It's legal in the carpool lane on 520, which is very nice. When 520 actually gets finished, that'll be nicer. So it's considered a motorcycle for most things. That's most of it. It's a 3-wheel, it's front wheel drive. It handles pretty nicely. It's both sprightly and at speed, it's very quick steering. Slow, it takes some real muscle to move it. I don't know, any questions? I would happily take people on drives, but my wife pointed out, if somebody's in the front and somebody else is behind, you are breathing their breath. There's just no way around that one.
How aggressive is the regen on it?
Pretty aggressive. I should go back. It's got a foot brake, which is all 3 wheels, and then it's got regen, which is the fronts. It has 2 motors, 1 motor driving each wheel. The way it's configured right now, it doesn't have like traction control or anything because they just haven't got that far into it. It's really still pretty early in its development. But it's pretty aggressive. You really don't need to use the brakes until under about 2-3 miles an hour. If you hit the regen hard, it's a good hard stop. When I was doing my certification one time, I was just like, okay, what happens if I pound the brakes and the regen at the same time? It goes into a full skid is the answer. But it's a nice stable skid. Oh, hi, Chad. I think those are Chad's fingers I saw wiggling over there. Chad and I know each other from many, many, many years ago.
So torque steer on the wet?
Say again, what?
Torque steer on the wet? Torque steer?
It doesn't have that. That's traction control. It doesn't have it yet.
No. If it's wet out, does it tend to plow if the wheels start spinning in the wet?
I haven't pushed it hard on a wet surface, so okay. I don't actually know. You have to do a motorcycle training course to get your license for it, which involves doing S-patterns, tight S-patterns through cones. And the way to do that in time, the way you have to do it is you come into the turn really hot, pound the brakes to come almost to a stop, and then power out through the turn. My brakes have not smelled the same since I did my certification.
Ed, I think people are starting to post questions in the chat section, and I would encourage people to use that so that we're not all talking at the same time. Just go down to chat at the bottom. There'll be a list of things that you can just add a section to or add a comment.
So in the comment about the price, Arcimoto is definitely following the Tesla model. Their first model is, by their standards, expensive. 20K is more than they want to charge. They want to get it down to 12 or 13. But early adopters, they're charging the higher price because they haven't got the production volumes and stuff up to get the prices down. So yeah, starting price is $19,900. Custom colors another $300. You want a fancy paint job, that's another $3K. You know, you can kind of keep going from there. They're not doing much, if anything, in customizing the actual chassis, the actual drivetrain, and that sort of thing. That's mostly it's color and doors on the side and bits, you know, cosmetic stuff. That's what they're doing. So mostly I'd say it's a really, really fun city car. And it does go on the freeway. It's capable of freeway speeds. Your range just tanks when you spend time at speed. I thought about driving it from Eugene, where they make them up here, and I figured out my best guess is that's about a 30-hour drive from Eugene to here, because you drive for an hour at 40 to 50 miles an hour, and then it's a level 2 charge, but it's only a 16 amp level 2. So then you spend 4 to 5 hours on a charger, and then you drive for another hour, and and so on. So it's really not a long distance car, but it's a great city car. That's about it. Are there any other questions there? The stock symbol is FUV. People have been talking about Tesla stock. It follows Tesla. When Tesla climbs, it climbs, and vice versa. Pretty much is how it seems to work right now. It's kind of I'm thinking of it as Tesla Light right now. It's kind of the little baby cousin to Tesla at this point, in that they're following that model and they're 5 years behind or whatever. I think that's about it, unless someone has specific questions. So someone wants to know how to change the background picture. Ask me at the end, Steve. You go to down by stop video. In there, you'll find video settings, and then under that, it's background.
Does the range drop a lot when you have a passenger?
Not significantly. You can feel it in terms of, I live near Lake Sam, and so everywhere you go from here is uphill because water goes down. Climbing the hill with the passenger there, you notice it a little bit, but not too much. It's pretty sprightly. I think it's rated 79 horse for a 1,300 pound vehicle. So power to weight is pretty good on it.
Hey, Ed, if you have more photos of that, I'm sure we'd love to see them. So you can.
I will just keep,
share
as other people talk, I will just cycle the photos on behind.
That'd be great. Thank
You
you.
can just watch them. At the end, I don't want to do it at the beginning because I'm afraid of trashing the meeting, but at the end, I will walk out in the driveway with a tablet and do an actual tour if anybody wants to do that. But I think that would be better at the end of it. Because, I mean, I could spend 45 minutes to an hour talking about it, and I think that would kind of commandeer the meeting a bit. So from here, I'll just keep changing photos.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
I'm enjoying your enthusiasm over it, Ed. And it just reminds me of my Zen car days when it was very much a talking piece. It's kind of nice to see that the Leaf and the Tesla, people know what they are now. So I don't get nearly as many questions, but I was just being nostalgic.
This one gets a lot of comments from people on the street. Partly it's purple, so that catches their eye. That was a $300 upgrade. And it's just so different. People look at it and go, what is that? So I have, you can't see it in that photo, but behind the driver's seat and another one up in front, I have little flyer holders. And so I have a flyer in there that the top half talks about the Arcimoto and the bottom half is an ad for my business. And just people stop all the time. It's a little weird because right now, instead of handing them a flyer, I have to like sort of lean over and say, I haven't touched them today. So, you know, you could just pick one out. But it's a little weird that way. Lots of things are weird right now. But yeah, I love the thing. It was a lot of fun. When it was raining hard and I didn't have my license yet, it was very discouraging. But then I have my license now. That's the downside. Washington considers it a motorcycle, so you need a tricycle endorsement, which is, you can do that without taking the course, but the course is a real good idea. And it's actually really fun. It is actually fun to go out in a big parking lot and burn rubber in a tricycle. That is actually a very fun thing to do.
All right, thank you very much for that. It gives me a reminder of how pre-COVID, I was starting to notice a resurgence of those good old days at the charging stations where you never went away from a fast charger without making a new friend, because there are so many clueless newbies on the road. And I bought a couple of charging sessions for people who couldn't figure out how to activate the machine. And most of them had never heard of SEVA. And I think at least a couple of them have come to meetings in the times since. So don't be shy, especially if you have to wait. I thought I was going to have an awkward interaction with a Leaf driver who was going to 100%, but it turned out to be a positive educational experience. Well, who else has a project or update for the good of the word? No, she signs. Well, if you're interested, I could go over what has been happening at EV Works. Give me some signs of yes, yes. Okay. So most of you know that I managed to actually get full-time employment in EVs. And our first conversion was a 1969 Volkswagen bus in green. So we named it Jewel. And just before it was to go off to the interior shop to get a passenger interior put in over the heavy-duty steel welded bench seat that holds the 6 Tesla Model S modules, the company did a pivot. So we're doing grocery delivery on Bainbridge Island in this lime green M&M colored Volkswagen bus. And that really lights people up when they see us pull into their driveway with that thing. And we're donating the proceeds to the Helpline House Food Bank right now. We're also, as I mentioned earlier, resurrecting an NEV for food delivery up and down Main Street. We have put a couple of thousand miles of testing on our 2011 Leaf with a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's 150 plus real miles of range. And the biggest challenge about that whole business is getting enough 40 kilowatt hour batteries. They are disappearing from the auctions and not showing up in the salvage yard interchange service. But we're installing one in a customer vehicle this week, and 500 refundable dollars gets the next spot in line. Please PM me about any interest for that. We have also received the third production Maxwell van, which I helped on the build of in Los Angeles last month. And that is a Dodge Ram ProMaster in airport shuttle configuration. So seating for 15 and 0 to 60, lose your lunch. It's a real ripper. And we are about to start on a 1972 Volkswagen bus with a 14 module Tesla Model S battery pack and a small rear motor, but it'll still be the quickest Volkswagen bus on the block. Yes, that is the Maxwell of which I speak. Their website had not been updated recently, so it's still showing the one that came to a SEVA meeting last year, the gray van that has a Chevy Volt drivetrain. I helped pack that van to head down to the factory in California, but they're focusing on pure electric vehicles right now. And yeah, Mark was correct. The company we're partnering with out of Quebec for the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf upgrade is featured in that video. I'm posting updates on events. Notice Greenwood still says it's on. Things have been very quiet from EVS 33, the World Electric Vehicle Symposium that was scheduled for Portland. They say they're monitoring conditions and have not canceled it yet. I'd be surprised if that still goes on in June.
Also at that event, Jay, was going to be the annual summit of the Women of EVs, the WEVs, and they announced just today that they are canceling that and hoping to reschedule later in the year, hopefully in conjunction with another event that's going on. But that part's not happening, at least.
Interesting. And I had been reaching out for 2 years to Forth, trying to get a SEVA role for that event as comped volunteer registrations, docents around the meeting, those sorts of roles. And finally, Forth responded that it's the Electric Drive Transportation Association that is organizing everything, and Forth themselves feel somewhat cut out of the planning. So I'm no longer blaming Forth, I blame EDTA. But anyway, I can't imagine what that meeting would be like if they try to proceed in June. Any other items for the good of the order?
Question. My screen, when I go through all the pictures, is 25 by 25, so it's 25 people. But are there more that you can scroll down through?
Yes, there are. If you go over to the right side of your screen, there should be a little blue arrow, and that will take you to the next page with more people on it.
Thank you, my dear.
Right now we have 30 people in the meeting, which is great. I also wanted to mention one more thing that's happening next week, actually. Was supposed to be Drive Electric Earth Day.
Yeah.
The events have been canceled or postponed. However, Drive Electric Week is going to be putting on an online Zoom meeting for people to participate in. And I was just looking at some of the details about that. It says it's going to start at 11 a.m. on Earth Day. That's the 22nd. And it's going to include a live musical performance, informative guest speakers, information on electric vehicle financial incentives, and engaging videos. They do want you to RSVP to attend. So if you just go to driveelectricearthday.org, you can sign up to be part of that. I figured that I would try to get in on that and see if they've got anything interesting to share. So I'll post the link in the chat here.
Right. Larry Ryan, I believe at last meeting you were trying to find a good home for your pickup truck. Did that ever happen? Larry doesn't have his ears on. Anyway, I have had 2 customer inquiries regarding 4x4 electric pickups in the past month. It's something people are still curious about because they don't see one coming anytime soon at any reasonable price.
I had a Toyota All-Track, which is a 4-wheel drive Corolla wagon that when I brutally murdered it by leaving the oil cap off and the oil filler off once. But I was thinking about taking it to electric. And at that point, I put it on the SEVA list and everyone said, little car, heavy drivetrain, your range will be 8 miles, don't bother. So I don't know, maybe a big truck makes more sense.
That's unfortunate, but then again, David Cloud was never very active on the email list. He was too busy building little cars with heavy battery packs.
Here to Dave Cloud.
It's worth noting that batteries are probably a lot better now than maybe when that original inquiry was made as well. So
I loved that car. It was a great little 4-wheel drive car. It would go everywhere because it was light and it would float. But it had a dead motor in it.
Hey, Teresa, mind if I put you on the spot regarding Tesla Owners Club of the Northwest? What are you guys doing these days?
Like, well, there's not a heck of a lot going on with any of the club stuff. I mean, we've had one virtual meeting so far where we had one of our members do a walkthrough of their Model Y when they took delivery of that a couple weeks ago. But other than that, most everything else is on hold because we can't meet socially. So, but we're still working on trying to get some more tastings going on and trying to get more meetups happening because we've had 3, I believe it's 3 new superchargers open up in the past month. So hopefully we can get meetups out there. We're still working with the Teslas for all their ribbon cutting since all of that stuff is on hold for who knows how long or if they'll continue having them or not. So we'll see. But yeah, but we've got the Spokane chapter starting up. So they're going to start doing meetups and drive-alongs and that kind of fun stuff. So we're gearing up. We're getting there.
I thought I saw a Model Y just last week, though I didn't think any were being delivered. What sort of VIP gets one?
I gotta say, yeah, his was delivered 2nd week of March. So yeah, so he lives up in Kirkland. It's Craig Fisher. There's been just a handful of them delivered so far in Washington. So most of them are within pretty close to the Bellevue area. So other than that, there's just a handful of them out there so far up here.
Yeah, I've delivered several myself actually. And so, yeah, they're going out, definitely. Had a chance to drive it too. And I gotta say, I really like it.
It's really nice.
It's very good to drive.
But yeah, and they just announced the tow package you can get for it now too. That's $1,000.
$1,000 for how many pounds?
3,500.
Has anybody actually taken the measurements on a Cybertruck and actually measured to see how big it is, what it will fit into, to what kind of garage it'll fit into?
It's pretty close to the same specs as the Ford F-150.
That's correct, but it seems bigger.
Yeah, it's like there's only one physical Cybertruck that's actually an operational Cybertruck that's produced right now. So the other one is just a mock-up.
Yeah, it's actually bigger than F-450. It's F-150. I'm sorry. I have a pickup that's it's a 2500 Silverado HD, and it's physically bigger than that. Now, why is this important? Well, I'm trying to make a carport to fit pickup. It's enormous. You have no idea how big this thing is. Anyway, that's a reality that a lot of people have to that are not aware of. They actually have to go into to see whether or not it's going to fit into wherever they plan on parking it.
I know it's about 3.5 feet longer than my Model 3.
Yes.
Wow.
It's longer than my extended cab pickup by about 6 inches.
Yeah, and it is as tall as the Model X.
Okay, it's taller than my Chevy Silverado. Yep.
Hey, Mark, I know this is off topic. What are you sipping on? What are you sipping on?
Sipping on Still Reserve. I'm trying to be incognito. I don't want you to think I'm a lush.
All right, carry on.
Okay, all right.
Well, while Steve is off topic, I have an interesting observation on crash test safety. Did anybody ever do those projects, maybe with a student or while you were in high school, where you cushion an egg and then parachute it or toss it off a building? Well, in this salvaged IMEV that I picked up, there was the remnants of a grocery run, and it included 12 eggs with an expiration date of December 9th. And they were intact. I'll give you the evidence. Let's see if we can get that on. December 9th, intact. And the other intact item in the grocery run was a 6-pack of Rainier beer in the big aluminum cans. And every one of those cans had burst. Pinholes, but they were all half full of skunky beer. The eggs survived.
So basically part of the hangover cure, but not the hangover causer. I'm thinking of the eggs and Worcestershire sauce.
And it was interesting that I believe the insurance company had detonated the driver's airbag after the accident to prevent it from being used. The side curtain airbags on the passenger side had deployed, but they did not detonate the passenger airbag, frontal airbag, to prevent it from being used. So it's for sale, Steve, in case you need an extra. Well, we went through our formal agenda. We covered the meetings that were on our calendar up to July. Anybody got something else to add? We're now past 7:30. Yes, ma'am.
Just a word for my old Tesla, since we've been talking about the new ones, but my love, Sir Percival T. We drove to California all the way down to LA on a music tour that kind of fizzled by the time I got to LA last month. But I just want to say I finally got to see the famous Kettleman City, California supercharger with the huge solar panels and the little lounge for Tesla people. I don't know if any of you know about this, but it was, I'd sort of forgotten that it existed until I needed to use it. And very fancy. You get, when you get to the, some of you probably charged there on long road trips, but when you get to the supercharger station, and there's like 20 of them, not only are they covered with solar paneled coverings, but on your screen, it will give you a password. And so you go into the lounge. They have a lounge where they sell coffee and little places to hang out and plug in your computer, and you punch in your passcode and you get to sit there in this little lounge. And I don't know why I'm telling you all that, but it was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, a supercharger lounge is a wonderful first experience. I've only been a guest. Okay, last call for items for the good of the order. People, of course, are welcome to hang out and chat for as long as they want, but I think we're at the end of our agenda.
Sure. Just
Well,
make
I
sure.
have a question for Chad Switchers. why can we not see him? I saw his hand go up.
Yeah, are you out there, Chad?
Sure, I'm here. I'm just sitting with the camera pointing in the wrong direction.
Ah, okay.
On purpose, no doubt. I'm surprised how many of you don't look like you've been more than 3 weeks without a haircut.
What are you talking about?
Notice the headphones that are sweeping my shaggy mop back?
It looks more like helmet hair.
Oh, I had one other comment. I want to thank Kevin Bose for all the things about movies and science fiction, and we've shared some stories that are just, really, thank you very much, you guys.
And Steve Lowe, I'd like to thank you for a couple weeks ago, you had the "Is everybody doing okay?" email that went out to people. That was very considerate of you and reminded me to do the same with other circles of friends, because I came back from my fizzled music tour and was kind of in shock for a week, just laying on the couch, and that kind of got me out of my funk and got me busy.
Oh, I do have one short story about the speaker, our hi-fi system in our basement, in our media room. It wasn't the amplifiers. I got multiple responses for people who wanted to give me another receiver, another amplifier. But what happened and this is kind of a funny story. So Donna was down there fiddling with the remote, and she said, "Oh, I can't get any more volume." So she kept turning the volume up, turning the volume up, turning the volume up, turning the volume up to maximum. And then she decided, oh, here's the input it's supposed to be. And she pushed the button and almost blew herself off the couch. And it blew up, it ruined the speakers. And so I took the speakers out to the workshop and took the Velcro off. Heavens, there was a reset button on all of the speakers. Push the reset button and they were back to 8 ohms and we're back on schedule. Thank you very much for all the people that responded.
All right, thank you, Steve. And I am glad to see lots of activity still going on the SEVA list. I regret I can't be as involved online as I would like, but I have, even during COVID, 3 hours a day of commuting. So just not much online time that's not work.
I have something here.
Yeah, Bill.
Yes, one of the organizers for the Climate Science on Tap at Optimism Brewery that Grace and Kevin and I attended in February has written to me saying that they are going to do a follow-up event on Zoom on Thursday, April 23rd. And I will go and just forward this message over to the list, which will include a link for purchasing tickets at different price levels. One of the price levels is no charge. They're a group that a few dollars towards would be worthwhile. And it was a good event, and I'm going to participate in the Zoom event on that would be a week from the day after tomorrow, and take a look for what I'll be posting.
Oh, thanks for that, Billy. I'd almost forgot about that event. It was very well attended, standing room only. There must have been between 150 and 200 people there. It was definitely a lot of interest and some good presentations as well. So I definitely think that if we could participate with this group, it would really help. We did get some good questions from people there.
I'd like to add that people, when you find out about these virtual stuff, make sure I know about it so I can get it on the Google Calendar. When things are missing from our SEVA calendar, it's simply because I don't know. I can't post about something I don't know. So just make sure it's on the list or email me directly or whatever. Thanks.
There was a similar event at Optimism Brewery, a 4th meeting in which Metro Transit presented their electric bus plans, and not many SEVA members were there. It included an interesting reinvention of the wheel in the name of avoiding the hazard of electric cords from turtles or poles or wherever in being plugged into a bus, and all the labor involved in doing that. They were going to string automated charging pendants above the lot and have these little probes that descend down and automatically engage with the buses. And it sounded like a recipe to put the project years and millions behind schedule. I've reached out to one person in Metro whose reaction was, "Not me, boss, I'm not involved." And I haven't found any other source of info. Anybody know anything on that?
I've got one thing to mention for Deb, and that is the Nidra electric drag races are in Michigan, Martin, Michigan, which is a long way from me. It's a 2-hour drive. And I suspect I'll be attending. They are August the 15th, all day, that's Saturday. I don't think they're going to be on Sunday too, but I don't know. Assuming in August they might be out from under the COVID thing.
Got it. I can also look it up online too, but thanks.
Relating to that, there's still the quest for 200 miles an hour, and this whole COVID-19 thing has kind of put everything on hold. I'm aware of 4 teams that want to be the first battery electric dragster to go to 200 miles an hour in the quarter mile. One is Garlett's out of Florida. The other is John Metric out of Lake Jackson, Texas. The other is locally right down there in SeaTac is the Current Technology, which is Steve Huff. And then there's a top secret one, which is too top secret to even mention their name, but they're also in the contention. So
okay,
it should be an interesting time here with the next. I'm sorry. It should be an interesting time here within the next few months.
And would Chad Twitters like to go and do a screen share for what he's been holding up in front of the camera there? I saw several photographs that look like they should be shared.
Yeah, and just pictures from old SEVA events.
Speaking of, I have a question for Ed and I guess Grace, but Ed, you're recording this right now. What format does that wind up in? Is there?
Actually, Billy's recording it.
Oh, Billy's recording. Billy.
And I think Randy, it'll end.
Ryan is recording it and I'm recording it.
Okay.
And it's telling me that it's going to save it as an MP4 when the meeting is over. That's what it says. I have not tried recording anything before.
So if you're doing it locally, which is probably the default you've got, it'll be a big MP4 file.
Okay.
There wasn't a default, but I did choose local. Yeah.
The best way to get it on the website is to somehow get it, I mean, on a YouTube channel somewhere.
Vimeo or YouTube is probably the best, yeah.
Vimeo, yeah. I mean, I'm most familiar with YouTube because the WordPress we're using right now will allow, will allow like a little YouTube link that will bring up the video in a box. There's no way I know of, unless Ryan, you know something, of getting a big file, because it's going to be a reduced file size. So MP4 is a good place to start. Thank you. And if it worst comes to worst, I can upload it maybe to my YouTube channel, which is mostly music, but make it a private, a video that is just doesn't attach. You won't see the rest of my stuff. I don't know. I have to figure it out.
You can just upload to YouTube without even putting it in anybody's channel. You can just put a random thing up there.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
And Ryan Fulcher has said he will.
Okay. Oh, Ryan, thank you. And then we'll have the URL. Excellent.
Any thoughts of doing a kind of a roll call down through these 36 people saying hi, and so some of them have never said anything, and I swear that the picture of Ryan is it's a still picture. No, I mean of Ron Ainsley is a still picture because he
Ron's
hasn't
been quiet
moved.
even for Ron, yeah.
But anyway, just an idea to kind of take a physical roll call.
Here. Your turn, Jay. Your turn, Deb.
Hey, is anybody on here that hasn't been to a SEVA meeting before?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, there. Yeah.
Oh, we got a new one. Yay. 2.
Okay.
Fresh blood.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
So is anybody
I was gonna say
besides
present,
John
but
outside the
for
Seattle area? How far does SEVA reach here? Anybody outside the Seattle area besides John? Is he still here?
Tukwila.
Well,
He doesn't care.
Okay.
So who were the new people? I've been lurking the email list for a long time, but this is the first meeting I've been to. Sophia, it sounds. Are you Sophia or a Sophia?
Sophia, and then my last name is Griskovia Mesquita, and I didn't wanted to cut it off. So in the military, I was always called G20 and student government, Senator G20, executive G20. But for electric vehicles, I've been working on electrical vehicles, I want to say since 2011 with the Shell Eco Marathon, and that was in 2 different places. And then I was a project manager for the Zero Emission Snowmobile Challenge, which I was with University of Alaska Fairbanks. We took first place. It was glorious. And then I remember doing climate change work that led me into climate change work in 2009. We had this symposium at our university where we had all the who's who come in. I think I caught swine flu that year, but and I did catch this controvirus this time. It wasn't that bad, but so yeah, so that I'm interested in making a couple of grants to make some more chargers around here in this area. I'm doing several startups that have to do with electric vehicles, and I'm more than happy to look for a mentor, preferably a female. I have a mentor who's a male. I don't know if anybody knows of him. His name is Michael Golub. He was the brains behind all of the different things that introduced me into here. He's like my big mentor. But Tukwila area, and how I got into EVs, I drove for Uber or Lyft, and I paid for the Bolt, and I loved it so much. I was like, there is just no way, like, I need a car right now, but I'm like, if it's not electric, I'm not all electric, I'm not going anymore. And I forgot to share, there's this Coursera about sustainability. It's going on right now, and it's free, and it's how you can change things to be more sustainable. And then there was a existential ethics class going on right now for any veterans or people related to veterans, even if your like son is or your cousin is, and it's open to you, and it's through the Clemine project. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's it.
Well, post it on the SEVA email list, and we'll gather in on it.
Comments from other new people?
Okay, hi, my name is Bill Truitt. I'm in Everett, Washington, and I am a high school AP government teacher. I recently purchased a Kona EV from Seattle Hyundai. I've been a member of Al Gore's Climate Reality Project, and I've been developing a presentation, which is kind of what our organization does, on electric vehicles and why conversions and the industry may be moving forward to EVs sooner rather than later. Also been involved in local politics. I was a former chairperson of the 44th Legislative Democrats committee here a couple of years ago.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, Bill. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know we had one more who raised his
Oh.
Theo?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it, Theo. Tell us
Yeah,
about yourself.
I pronounce it Teo to
Yeah.
be difficult. And then Michelle, so Teo Michelle, it blows everyone's mind. Yeah, I've been lurking for a long time. I've posted to the mailing list a few times and asked questions and stuff. I think one of the topics on there was this podcast I've been working on. It's called Let's Talk About Electric Vehicles. Work on it with a co-host who actually now lives in Austria. We talk about like scientific and economic kind of topics around electric vehicles more so than like commercial stuff. I first got into electric cars in the late 2000s. I don't know why really, I just got obsessed with it. And I bought a 79 Chevy Love pickup that had been converted by a guy in Bellevue. I live in Bellevue, which I had for a few years. It was like 12 Optima batteries, 12 144 volt system. And it went like 20 miles on a charge. It was pretty bad. So I didn't drive it very much. It probably, when it was new, it probably did when the batteries were new, it probably did 30 miles. But I never got around to converting it to lithium ion, and I sold it before I did, which I regret. Right now I don't have an electric car, but I'm in the market I'm thinking Fiat 500, so I welcome feedback on that. And what else? I think that's it.
Welcome. I just looked up your webcast, and I have about 24 episodes to catch up on with good titles. Can we trust used EVs? About resale values and EV dealerships.
Yep.
More about EV conversions, the ABCs of battery chemistry. Lots of good topics.
Thanks. I hope so. I've been involved for like the last 12 episodes, so the beginning is all Teresa, who's the co-host.
You're saying I should only watch the recent ones?
No. I'm saying they're all good.
All right. Well, thank you. It's good to have old-time conversion drivers still in the mix.
Right.
We're getting outnumbered.
We had one more new person. Was that Matt?
Yes. So I live in Shoreline, so not too far away from the rest of you. And I'm the guy that's been posting about the electric snowmobiles. I have a list of vehicles I want to electrify, starting with a snowmobile, a boat, a 2,000-pound snowcat that we drive 3 miles from a snow park out to our lodge out by Snoqualmie Pass. And I got into electric vehicles right about when the second Gulf War started. And I was like, if we're ever going to stop spending blood and money in the Middle East, it's going to be because we finally got oil. So how do I become part of the solution instead of part of the problem?
Hey.
And so now we leased a Chevy or a Nissan Leaf that year. And then 3 years later, when that lease was up, I leased another one. And then another one, and bought a Tesla Model 3 last year as well. And so I can say that I will certainly never buy a fossil fuel vehicle again. And I bought a new house 3 years ago, and the first thing I did was strip all of the exterior off of it and added 6 inches of foam insulation all the way around the outside of it. And yeah, nice, made all the walls a good half a foot thicker, and super insulated the house, covered the roof with solar panels, got rid of all the fossil fuel appliances, and so I'm all heat pumps now and 100% electric, disconnected the gas connections to the house, and all electric, all the way.
Matt, you're signed up. You're signed up.
Yeah.
So is your house super insulated then? Is that?
Yes.
So it's like urethane foam R7?
It's a polyiso, 6 inches of polyiso all the way around the exterior. Okay. And then from the inside, I also, I pulled a couple of ceilings down and filled converted the cathedral ceilings into unvented ceilings and filled them with spray foam. So I filled them all from below.
Okay.
And then just put new ceilings back up over top of them. In fact, this ceiling that right behind me, that beam used to be hidden underneath a drop ceiling. And so I ripped out the drop ceiling, found that beam in there and said, oh, well, that's going to stay exposed.
Yeah.
Fill the ceiling cavities with spray foam, put the ceiling back up. While I had the ceilings down, I got up there with my belt sander and spent 3 days like this, finishing that beam.
Matt, have you found a good resource for DIY eco renovators? I spent a little time on eco renovator, I think it was
no
forum, and did not find it to be productive.
No, but I mean, there's tons and tons of great builders out there. With the problem is most of the builders are geared towards doing what they can sell, and what they can sell needs to be cheap. And I wasn't concerned about the cost of construction per se. I was concerned about how much is it going to cost to maintain the house after it's done. I want to drive the running costs down to nothing, or as close to zero as I could get. So I was aiming for zero net energy. And so I had a very fixed budget with how many solar panels can I fit up there. And so in order to get to net zero with a fixed amount of production, it's like, well, I have an energy budget, and I'm spending it on EVs, which are huge power pigs. They consume as much energy as the rest of the house. So the only way I can get my energy budget in the house down that low is having super efficient appliances and lots and lots and lots of insulation.
You should speak with Matt Moreno, and he's not here tonight, but he has a wonderful house over on the shores, on the west shores of Lake Sammamish.
Okay.
And, he's got a lot of information on that.
Well, anybody who wants to do such a thing to their house, I'm willing to help, and I will point you in directions at all the right resources too. Honestly, the best place that I found for collecting this data was building science. And the building science guys are the ones that, they go out there and say, hey, which tape is the best? Let's take 20 different pieces of tape, stick them all up to this piece of plywood, and leave them sitting outside in the sun for 10 years, and then come back and measure each one every single year. They do stupid tests like that, and then they publish all the results. But it turns out they're the old codgers, who also write most of the building codes for North America, USA and Canada. And so building science guys, and they publish all of their work, so it's fantastic. Most of the ideas and stuff I got, I went back and looked at their designs and went, oh, well, this looks very sensible. Let's try and build this. And I talked to several builders in the area, and I now have 3 builders who are friends. I go out drinking with them on occasion, and we talk about the business side of construction, but none of them wanted to build my house the way I wanted it. It just takes too much time, and they're not willing to invest in that. So I was like, fine, do it myself.
Dad, didn't you buy a house with those kind of features?
I did. We have since moved, but the house, it was the first one in the US by a Japanese builder. And they actually built 2 houses at the same time. One, the one I bought with all the features, and one they just built the code. And the reason they did that was to compare costs. My house cost 50% more to build. So yeah, that's why a lot of builders don't want to do it.
Okay.
I had a significant advantage in that most of the labor was provided by yours truly. And so the only cost was, to myself, was really the extra material cost. And that wasn't that much more than traditional building. My house was built in 1955. It had 0 inches of insulation in the walls. And so upgrading that made, a very substantial difference, like about $350 a month in heating costs during, the winter.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, and there's a wealth of knowledge within SEVA on this. For instance, my DIY built solar arrays beginning in 2010 have enabled my consumption to actually trend slightly downwards over the past decade, while we also went from 0 to over 30,000 miles a year of electric driving.
And
All right.
our house, I'm a part of Seattle Community Solar by Seattle City Light because my house is not positioned well for solar panels. But it's the panels I bought into in that project. I know they're not fueling the house directly, but they are offsetting the grid. I've paid for about, in the last 8 years, about 2/3 of them have been paid off. They have, that I've gotten back from I get rebates back from City Light. So, you know, it's possible. I love this stuff. And then when I remodeled the upstairs in 2018, I now love spray foam insulation because it used to be always freakishly hot or freakishly cold up there. And there's I still have a gas heat, unfortunately, for part of the house, but we have a heat pump, a small heat pump system for the upstairs, except I never use it because it's perfect up there. It's just like night and day to put that wall, like you were saying. So I've been sitting here going, yeah.
When we bought this house, my daughter's room is on the south wall, southeast corner. And so in the morning, she'd wake up and her room would be nice and comfortable. But sun comes up over the horizon, and by 11 o'clock, you know, her room would no longer be 55 degrees, it would be 70 degrees. And it's like, oh, well, you know, 70 is okay, that's pretty nice, but it wouldn't stop rising. So by 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening, you know, it would be 95 degrees up there. And it wouldn't stop cooling down until, you know, about 2 o'clock in the morning. And so as I started insulating around the house, you know, it's like, as I got to that east wall, it was like the change in her room, you know, the peaks went from like 100 degrees the day before to down to 90. And around the corner and hit that south wall. And even before I finished the wall, it was just the first 3-inch layer of insulation on there, you know, it killed the thermal gain down there, and the rooms, you know, hit 80 degrees tops, you know. And by the time I got done insulating it, it's like, we don't need the air conditioning that we put in there anyways. We got extra heat pump heads. I put 2 in the upstairs bedrooms for air conditioning, and then 1 in the downstairs room below them for heat. The ones upstairs we almost never use anymore. Those are, when we bought the house, those rooms were very, very warm at night, so we wanted air conditioning up there. Now that they're insulated, it's just not necessary anymore.
I hear you. Same deal here, mostly.
Yeah. Insulation's wonderful stuff.
All right. Well, I have many miles to go before I sleep, so I'm going to sign off soon. Thank you, everyone, for coming in, hanging in. We still have 31 people online.
You still in Bainbridge?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It would have been far more disruptive if my usual domestic background was present.
I think Ed is going to stay online for a bit and do a little walk around of his vehicle if it's still light enough outside.
If it's still light enough, I will try that.
Yeah.
So that I can call this a business call. I actually am doing some free work right now, like all of it almost. Which what I do is for people with sore backs, sore knees, whatever.